Blount County is the covered bridge capital of Alabama. We're heading to the area to tour just a few covered bridges, including the longest surviving covered bridge in Alabama. We want to see its beauty close up and personal.
Covered bridges represent a period of time when westward expansion was underway and communities were being formed. And covered bridges could be built quickly out of easily available materials, wood in particular. There's also this romanticism, I think, attached to the fact that the bridge is covered. They're sometimes called kissing bridges, and they provided a place where couples could come and steal a kiss.
Covered bridges are just as popular and romantic today.
See how they cut holes in the siding so they could get to the nuts and tighten them up, I guess, or loosen them if they need to. That's interesting. You might hear the creaking of the bridge also.
It sounds pretty bad.
It's impressive. Well, I like the sound, but I guess if you were thinking that it meant there was something wrong, you would be worried.
Professor Hine is a bridge building expert and our guide for the day.
I've been interested in bridges from a very young age, and that's one of the things that drew me into civil engineering, structural engineering in particular. Kind of like an arch, it's really a truss. I teach structural systems at both a very mathematical, physical level, but also at a conceptual level. The whole bridge really is a beam that you can walk or drive through. Today we're visiting Alabama's covered bridges. These are all wooden structured bridges using the truss form of structural member. But there are many different types of trusses, and we'll see some of those in these bridges.
First stop, Coldwater Bridge, which is actually in Calhoun County.
This is a king post truss. The bigger members that you see are the ones that are doing the most work in the truss. This is the original hand-hewn timbers, and this is a triple king post truss. It's kind of like an arch.
Professor Hine points out the king post.
And that whole thing is in compression as an arch would be, all the way to the other side where it runs down.
It was built around 1850 and is on the National Register of Historic Places.
The form of it is dictated by its structural purpose, its structural function. If you think of a tree that's been dropped over a stream, it provides a pathway from one side of the river to the other. If we could take that tree and slice it into smaller pieces, assemble them, and those pieces are connected with triangular assemblies of other smaller pieces so that the pieces are further apart. It's like the bridge is a tube, but now we're walking through.
A bridge's function dictates its form or design.
A structure is something that represents the working part, the muscle and the bones. A covered bridge, we could compare it to an animal. At this animal crossing the river, the covering part of the bridge is more like the skin that sits on top of the muscle and bones. And just to study it and see how it works, that's what excites me about it.
Next stop, the Swan Bridge in Blount County.
The Swan Bridge is a continuous span bridge spanning over two intermediate piers. Instead of having to span between the banks, it has some help out in the middle. It's smiling in between the supports, and then as it approaches the support, it frowns over those supports so that it's bending the other way.
The bridge's structural bends cause audible creaks.
Should you be worried about it personally? Are you worried about the bridge coming down on you?
Well, I mean, I'm not like actually worried, but I mean...
The bridges that we're visiting in Blount County have all been recently refurbished. So as you approach them, you see this great entryway of brand new wood, and you can even smell that stain that they've put on the wood. You can see where pieces of old wood have been replaced with new wood. It's the bridge going forward. It's the bridge taking some of the past with some of the present and going forward. And it's a functioning bridge that allows people to cross. And the people we met from this area are very proud of the bridge and glad that it's open and glad that people are coming to see it.
There are so many covered bridges in Alabama, you can't possibly visit them all in one day. It takes time to explore each one.
The covered bridges of Alabama represent something very old, many of them built even before the turn of the 20th century. The places that you can find them in are usually rural places, often crossing a river. And they're neat places to visit. They're almost like a technological park. And you can experience the crossing, you can experience the solitude and the peace. So they're a place where man and nature comes together.
Coming up on Alabama Life, how fast does a bottle tree grow?